New rules are coming up for F1, and with one obvious dominant team at play right now, it's not difficult to figure out which team is most opposed to all the changes. But what Red Bull and its drivers have said about the upcoming rule changes recently is quite shocking. Do they know something we fans don't? First up, Max Verstappen was already very harsh in his critique of the current generation of Formula One cars in low-speed corners, saying that the latest machines feel like a boat. The current generation of ground-effect F1 cars is approaching 800 kilograms in weight, making them the heaviest in F1's modern history. At over 5 meters long and about 2 meters wide, the sheer enormity of F1 machines cannot be overstated, and this has had a negative influence on racing. While these low-riding ground-effect animals are formidable in high-speed turns, they get unstuck and heavy in low-speed curves across the world. Yeah, high speed is quite good with these cars, but in the low speed it does feel like a boat, Verstappen admitted after claiming pole position at Suzuka. Luckily, there are not too many low-speed corners around Suzuka. And actually, I think in a fun car anyway, like high-speed corners are more fun. Yeah, the old cars were a bit more agile, but this car definitely generates a lot of downforce in the high-speed corners. Looking ahead, F1 and the FIA are aiming for lighter, smaller cars in 2026, with weight reductions of up to 50 kilograms envisaged. However, there are other difficulties beyond a little shift towards a lighter formula, which the Dutchman has also addressed. With the 2026 power units having a 50-50 power balance between internal combustion and electrical components, energy conservation will be critical in 2 seasons. Concerns regarding energy conservation are having a direct influence on the chassis and aero specifications for 2026, which are now being developed. Currently, active aero front and rear are being studied for the 2026 F1 machines. Verstappen feels that the most crucial aspect of the next rules is the weight of the vehicles, with potential compromises finding from circuit to circuit in 2026. We'll have to deal with some compromises on some tracks. You know, where you use a lot of energy per lap, Verstappen remarked in an interview. And of course, you know, with the potential like active aero and stuff, I'm not sure if we should head into that direction. That's what it's looking like at the moment. Hopefully, we can optimize all these kind of things. For me, it's more important to just try and fight the weight of the cars. Try and optimize that instead of all these tools and tricks to try and help the overtaking or following. There must be different ways to be able to do it. Verstappen is right on that one. There are other ways to do it, but F1 and the FIA want the sport to be more sustainable. So, there's no going around engine changes. But all these changes will be difficult to implement for the teams. And when even the best engineer on the grid says that, we can be sure the first year of the regulations will be interesting, to say the least. This doubt comes as Adrian Newey believes that Formula One's 2026 rules will be difficult to adjust to, due to the strange manner power units would be required to operate. Because there will be an emphasis on energy recovery, the nature of what is to come has created the possibility of some unique qualities. According to Newey, efficiently turning the ICEs into generators may need the use of unusual characteristics, such as requiring them to operate at maximum RPM around tight corners like Monaco's hairpin. It's certainly going to be a strange formula in as much as the engines will be working flat chat as generators just about the whole time, he said. So, the prospect of the engine working hard in the middle of Low's hairpin is going to take some getting used to. For a long time, the engine's distinctive qualities have piqued the interest of F1 bosses, who must design chassis rules around them. As a result, active aerodynamics are required to provide additional downforce in the corners, while also reducing drag on the straights. Not everyone is pleased with the way things have been handled, with world champion Max Verstappen believing it was a mistake to create the engine rules first and then try to shape the vehicle regulations around them. I think they realized that on the engine side, not everything is as efficient as everyone thought after all, Verstappen said. Newey agrees that the situation is uncommon, as it has made developing chassis standards considerably more difficult. When asked about the argument that the aero rules were now a sticking plaster for an engine that was not delivering as expected, Newey said, "I think that's a fair comment, and probably one that even the FIA would acknowledge, that only the engine manufacturers wanted this kind of 50/50ths combustion engine with electric. I guess it is what their marketing people said that we should be doing, and I understand that. It's potentially interesting because F1 can be a fast-track developer of technology. The problem potentially on the battery and electric side is the cost currently, certainly of electric motors to F1 standard, plus inverters and batteries. It is very high, but perhaps production techniques in the future will help to bring that down. The other problem is the battery. What we need, or what the F1 regulations need out of the batteries in terms of power density and energy density, is quite different to what a normal road car needs. And that in itself means that the battery chemistry and possibly battery construction is different, so there's a risk that it won't be directly road relevant. But perhaps that's not the key aspect anyway. The key aspect, certainly for the manufacturers, although they will never admit it, is the perception of relevance in the showroom. Newey also believes Formula One management is going to encounter a difficult issue in developing the best solution for active aero in 2026. The FIA plans to approve the first full document of F1's 2026 aero regulations by the end of June, and has spent recent weeks fine-tuning several design components. More development is needed on the active aero features, particularly after several teams reported that the new cars were nearly undrivable at maximum acceleration when tested in the simulator. A push is now on to develop a solution that provides greater aero balance over the entire car, which will most likely entail increasing the number of adjustable pieces on the front wing to complement what is planned for the back. Asked about the challenge of getting active aero to be the right fit, Newey said, "I think it's going to be difficult. It is fair to say that the engine regulations were created and pushed through without very much thought to the chassis side of it, and that is now creating quite large problems in terms of trying to come up with a solution to work with it. But I think the one good thing out of that is that it does promote efficiency, and I think anything that does that and promotes that has to be in line with what I said earlier, of trying to use F1 to popularize a trend." Next to all the changes, the teams also have to play by the rules, money rules in this case, as where during the last changes of rules the teams could still somewhat lean on the period of unlimited spending, they sure can't now. And during one of his recent interviews, Adrian Newey has also complained about the unexpected consequences of Formula One's cost restriction. In an effort to keep expenditures under control and equal the playing field, a budget restriction of $145 million USD was established for the 2021 season. The promises for a more even playing field amongst teams have not materialized, as Newey and his design team have developed cars that have won 41 of the 48 ground effects races since the new technical restrictions were implemented at the beginning of 2022. However, the long-serving CTO believes that the cost cap has had a negative impact on F1. "I think the hidden danger of the cost cap, which none of us probably really thought about when it first came in, is that Formula One used to be the best paid engineering discipline in the world," Newey said. "Therefore, we would be able to hire and attract from universities the brightest young graduates, and now with the cost cap, with the amount of inflation and the cost cap not rising with inflation, that is no longer the case. At the same time, it is a double-edged sword, as we also have startup tech companies offering very high salaries. And so now when we go to the universities, trying to attract graduates, we're no longer the best. Equally with our existing staff, we are losing people to tech companies. And that is a real problem because it makes it difficult for us, as an industry, and not just our team, to attract the best engineers in the world. We are then trying to attract them on the basis of passion, rather than purely because of the best salaries. For the time being, no substantial modifications to the cost cap structure are planned. However, the teams and the FIA continue to communicate and debate. It must be noted that the cap's stability has allowed team values to surge, putting the majority on a road towards profitability. What are your thoughts on the upcoming changes and the backlash on it? Do you think it's fair that the drivers and engineers are opposed to so many changes? Leave a comment down below.